Hi everyone, it's Katie from Paradise Falls family. In this video, we're continuing our Hawaii 2023 vlog series by looking at our time cruising around the Hawaiian Islands on the Pride of America with Norwegian Cruise Line. We boarded the cruise following a week at Disney's Aulani Resort on Oahu, and we've covered our time there earlier in this series. The cruise was for 7 nights and was supposed to stop at Maui, Big Island and Kauai. Unfortunately, Maui experienced their catastrophic wildfires the week before, so we weren't able to stop at Maui, understandably, but we still had a wonderful time nonetheless. In this video, I'll talk about the cruise itself, give an overview of the ship and how we spent our time aboard, as well as a few tips we've picked up along the way. We've tried to cover off everything you might need to know for your trip, but just send us a message below if you have any questions. Then in the next few vlogs, we'll talk through how we spent our time ashore on the different islands, so make sure to subscribe to our channel to catch those, as well as other vlogs we've got coming up this year and next. So to begin with, why did we pick this cruise? We decided we wanted to try and see as much of the other Hawaiian Islands as we could, given we'd come so far and didn't know if we'd ever get the chance to return. Obviously, we could have flown between the islands, but for one, this is costly, and 2, it takes a lot of effort and faffing, packing and unpacking, taking the flights etc, particularly with the kids. Therefore, we decided to go for a cruise, and Norwegian Cruise Line are the only company that offers a cruise around the islands year-round. This is always aboard the Pride of America ship, and usually takes the same route with 2 days in Maui, 1 in Hilo on Big Island, 1 in Kona on Big Island and 2 in Kauai. Our booking originally included a half-day sailing the Napoli Coast on Kauai as well, but they changed the itinerary to 2 full days in Kauai on the basis of them doing their bit for climate change, and seem to be phasing this out of their itineraries now, so be sure to check this if you book. We felt the cruise would enable us to get a taste of each of the islands as best we could in such a short space of time. This is particularly because the ship basically becomes a floating hotel while in port, and you can stay ashore as long as you like, so long as you're back for setting sail, so you really get to maximise your time on each island. As it happened, we weren't able to visit Maui, so our itinerary was changed up at short notice, and in the end we spent 2 days in Hilo, 1 day in Kona, 1 day at sea including sailing the Na Pali Coast of Kauai, and then finally 2 days in Kauai, which actually helped us to delve a bit deeper into Kauai and Big Island, which was really fun. So going back to the start, once we'd pre-booked our room on the cruise, we were able to download the Norwegian Cruise Line app to pre-book any bits and pieces that we wanted. In the end, we only went for an excursion on Kona, which was a cruise on a much smaller boat down the coastline. Kona is the only tender port on the itinerary and has quite a high fail rate when the seas are rough, meaning that the ship can't dock successfully. Therefore, we thought we'd book an excursion here through Norwegian so we'd get our money back if we couldn't dock. For the other ports, we made our own arrangements, which is much cheaper, and booked rental cars and added on our own activities. The Norwegian Cruise Line app was pretty easy to use, and we were able to check in easily online beforehand. One thing Norwegian do differently is that they let you bid for an upgrade. We'd gone for an internal room to save money, but took our time learning how the system worked, so we were a bit late in bidding, and so we missed out. This system has its advantages and disadvantages. On one hand, there's the chance to get a cheap upgrade. On the other hand, it's not possible to simply pay to upgrade if you change your mind, which was a little frustrating when we'd had a late change of heart and had missed our opportunity. In the end though, we loved our internal room, and I'll come on to that later. Boarding the ship was incredibly easy and stress-free. We got a taxi over from Aulani with Charlie's Taxis for around $100, arriving at about 2 p.m. The port is right in the middle of Honolulu, close to the famous Aloha Tower, so you get some great views. Everything was well organised and there is a really large hall for check-in. We were ushered straight through as we had the kids and were treated exceptionally well, so we pretty much walked straight onto the ship, which was brilliant. Upon boarding, we went straight to our muster station to check in, and we confirmed we'd watched the safety video prior to boarding. So this again was really smooth and easy. And then basically we were free to enjoy the ship for the rest of the day. Our room was pretty much ready immediately after we boarded, which again was great so we could go and get settled in. As I said, we'd booked an internal room which was pretty small, but we honestly didn't really notice. The cruise is designed to spend a lot of time ashore and less on the ship, so we didn't feel that having a larger or fancier room would have actually made that much of a difference. The room had a double bed, which is actually 2 singles pushed together, and then there are 2 singles which fold out from the wall and so are above the double bed. It's a little strange at first, but we actually all loved it and it felt really cosy. Just be prepared for the odd teddy to fall on your head in the night. The bathroom was nice enough, again a tad small but it did the job, and there was just about enough storage. The suitcases fit under the bed, so we were able to maximise the space available and had a lovely, comfortable stay. Having settled into our room and unpacked, we spent the rest of the day exploring the ship, spending some time playing shuffleboard and drafts on the outer decks, playing in the arcade, registering at the kids club, and then doing a little bit of shopping. We had some snacks from the buffet, but had our main meal at the Skyline restaurant, one of the main free sit-down restaurants on board. We set sail around 7 p.m, so we made sure to be out on deck from around 6:30 to catch that, and there were some amazing views of Honolulu, Waikiki Beach and Diamond Head as we sailed away. So having set sail for our first night aboard the ship, now might be a good time to give a brief overview of the ship. The Pride of America isn't particularly large compared to today's modern ships, although it still has 14 decks. It's actually one of the older ships in Norwegian's fleet, so overall it's not quite as fancy or as fun as some of the Disney cruise ships we've been on before. Nevertheless, it did surpass our expectations. We'd read some negative comments online beforehand, and it was a lovely ship to spend the week on. The ship, being based solely in America and with an American crew, is American themed, with different restaurants, bars and areas, all themed and named after American locations and icons. Decks 4, 7 to 10 and Deck 13 are solely staterooms. We were located on Deck 4 and found it really easy to get around. Deck 14 is a sun deck and has the basketball courts and is a great spot to take in the views, particularly when setting sail and when cruising the Na Pali coastline. Decks 5 to 6 and 11 to 12 are probably where you'll spend most of your time though, as this is where the main communal areas are, with dining, entertainment, shops and the main pool on Deck 11. Talking about the pools, there is one main pool, which to be honest is just your standard swimming pool, but large enough and was great for what we needed, along with a couple of hot tubs which were lovely to chill out in. There's another smaller oasis pool at the back of the ship, and then a kiddie splash area. There aren't any slides, so this is one of the areas where it doesn't really compare to some of the bigger modern ships, but we didn't miss it too much and we were able to cool off in the pool whenever we wanted. In terms of the other entertainment, you've got the basketball courts, which I've already mentioned, table tennis, chess and drafts, an arcade, a very small putting green, an art gallery, a library, a games room, a fitness centre and a spa, so plenty to do across the week. The kids club is called Splash Academy on Deck 12 and they have different rooms for different age groups. This is a bit more rigid than Disney cruises that we've done in the past, in that they don't operate while you're in port and there are set sessions with opening and closing times where the kids are allowed to go and take part. The room did look a little bit basic if we're being honest, but the staff were brilliant and put on loads of different activities throughout the week. The kids kept asking to go back, so it was definitely a hit and they went several times around our shore time. In terms of evening entertainment, there is always an evening show or some other entertainment in the Hollywood Theatre. We never tried any of these as none of these took our fancy and we were always so tired from our busy days, but it's a good option. Each day a daily freestyle leaflet is delivered to your stateroom which sets out all of the entertainment and events etc. for the day, so this was really useful in terms of planning what we wanted to do. Looking at dining now, there are a couple of options which are included in the price. The main dining rooms are the Skyline Restaurant and Liberty Restaurant on decks 5 and 6, which are table service, and then you have the buffet option, which is the Aloha Cafe on deck 11. Finally, there is East meets West and the Cadillac Diner, which are both great options, although we never got to try these. We did try both the Skyline and Liberty restaurants once each. The food was good quality with some decent options, but we did find them a little bit stiff and the service wasn't great, so the rest of the time we just ate at the Aloha Cafe, which was much easier after busy days out and about. This is also where we had breakfast each morning and where we had lunch each day that we were on the ship. Again, the quality was really good with loads of options and it worked great for us with the kids. You don't need reservations for any of these and you don't have a set dining time, so it was much more relaxed and easier to fit around our plans. Aside from the options included, there are several other paid-for restaurants, including Cagney Steakhouse, Jefferson's Bistro, Teppanyaki and Sushi Bar. We didn't try any of these on the basis that we didn't feel the need given the quality of food included, but the options are there if you want them. In terms of drinks, you get water, squash, fruit juice and lemonade all included, which was fine for us. Soda and alcohol are charged in addition. As well as the restaurants, there are a number of bars such as the Napa Wine Bar, Gold Rush Saloon and Key West Bar, so there's always somewhere to grab a drink or relax. Moving on through our cruise, we had a wonderful week exploring the islands. As I said, we didn't spend loads of time on board, and when we were generally eating or sleeping. Our main chunk of time aboard was on day 4, our unscheduled day at sea, and cruising the Na Pali Coast. The coastline is located on the northern shore of the island and it's inaccessible from the land. The scenery though is absolutely spectacular, and you'll probably recognise it from numerous movies including the Jurassic Park films. Normally, an excursion to explore this coastline would have cost the 4 of us just short of $1,000, so getting to cruise along here was really cool. What I would say though is the timings for cruising the coast are a little vague, and you don't spend that long along the shoreline, so make sure to go and look at it while you can. It does get really busy out on deck with everyone wanting to get a spot along the railing and get their pictures, so you do need to be a little bit patient, but it's well worth it. We spent the rest of the day at sea relaxing on the ship. Unfortunately, it was a little bit choppy and so the pool was closed, which did narrow our options considerably as we'd planned for just a pool day on deck. As the ship is on the smaller side, it isn't really built for days at sea. The kids were happy enough though, taking advantage of the kids club. We'd planned to relax in one of the lounges or bars, but we found nearly all of these were closed for private events such as cocktail making and art auctions, so it was really hard to find something to do in the end. This is probably the only time we wished we had a balcony, but we found a seat on deck in the end to relax, and we had a fun day getting our energy back, ready to visit Kauai again the next day. We had a wonderful time aboard the ship and a great time exploring the islands, which I'll cover in the next few vlogs. Before I move on to disembarking though, I'll just touch on the service that we received on board. This is one area we were anxious about beforehand, having read some poor reviews online. We have to say that while we weren't blown away with the service on board, it wasn't as bad as we'd been expecting. Some staff members were fantastic, some were very poor, but most were perfectly fine. It wasn't the same standard we'd experienced on our previous cruises, but we understand they're struggling with staffing levels, so sometimes they were a little bit light. The rooms were serviced once a day, but no turn down service, and we got a letter in our room informing us of that when we boarded. But generally though, it was good enough for the type of cruise that this was. The other thing I'll mention is the general vibe on board. As I've spoken about, we'd only previously done Disney cruises, which are obviously very child friendly and a really good atmosphere. We didn't know what to expect with this being our first cruise on Norwegian. Overall, I'll say it was a really nice atmosphere, perhaps a little bit more rowdy than Disney around the pool, but still really child friendly. There were more larger groups than we'd previously seen, with large family vacations etc, which made it a little louder and busier, but overall it was still a nice atmosphere and we'd recommend it for other families and would definitely consider sailing with Norwegian Cruise Line again, perhaps on a bigger ship next time though. And finally, moving on to Disembarkation. This is always a rubbish time, but it was fairly painless here. Tips are automatically added to your bill at a set rate per person per day, so make sure to review this the night before if you want to adjust it at all. Then in terms of disembarking, you need to pick up a colour-coded luggage tag from the main service desk the night before you leave your luggage to be collected the evening before. The colour determines the order that your luggage will be removed and ready for you ashore, and it's first come first served. It took us some time to work out the system, so we'd recommend going earlier and getting your tags if you want to get off the ship particularly early. Even so, with one of the last groups, we were off the ship by 8:30 am as they've got the system down to a T, so it was really easy. Our luggage was ready and waiting, and the porters were great in helping us to a taxi for our onward journey to Waikiki. So that brings us to the end of this vlog, which gives an overview of the cruise in general. We've tried to cover off all the key things which may be useful for you on your cruise, but if there's anything at all you want to know, then please just message us in the comments below. Over the next few weeks we'll be looking a bit more at our time in Hilo, Kona and Kauai, so make sure to subscribe to our channel to catch that and to support the channel as well. Thank you all so much for watching.